Okay, so the first question on here is, what is a misconception? So, a misconception is when a student has a view or an opinion that is incorrect. This is based on things that they've observed and they think that it's true when it's not. For example, many students think that dinosaurs and humans and cavemen were alive all at the same time, which they weren't. And also, that lightning never strikes in the same spot twice. So, misconceptions are important in science because um, we are there to help students clear up their misconceptions themselves. And we can do this by providing opportunities for students to correct themselves and get rid of these misconceptions. So we can set up an experiment or an activity so they can work out this misconception, and then don't give answers or resources, because failing is learning and they're learning new ways to get things done. Please explain what the term progression of the standards means in regards to the NGSS. Be specific and give details of one linear progression of DCI from K to middle school. So, progression is how your standards build off of the prior knowledge, and then progression, you structure all of them so they can start with something and build off of them. So you pre-assess, you assess, you can group students. An example that we had was that in K through 12, they're learning about solid, liquids, and gases. 3 to 6, how they can change into each other, or a liquid can turn into a solid, or and they can turn into a gas. And then in middle school and high school, they're learning about particles and the bonds to create these things. Explain why the NGSS has a progression of its standards. So it has a progression of standards to build off of prior knowledge and to help keep with progression. So you would need to know what a solid, a liquid, a gas is to understand the bonds in high school and middle school and what they're made up of. So please explain why your role would be as a fifth grade teacher. Focus on teaching content related to NGSS performance. Expectation 5, PS1-3. So as a fifth grade teacher, we would review what they already know and build off to create new skills for their next grade level. First, please explain the desired outcome for each of the 5 stages. The 5E learning cycle in detail. Next, please provide specific examples of the types of activities one might see at each of the 5 phases in order to achieve the desired outcome for that particular stage. So, engage, we would be asking them a lot of questions, or they would have questions like how, why, what, where. Explore, we allow them to think freely within the topic, of course. Don't let them get off track. And then explain, we want to hear them explain to us and using their own terms and these new concepts that they've developed. And then elaborate, we want them to apply what they've learned to new situations. And then evaluate, we would be observing the students as they apply their new skills. And then the EIE version, please explain the engineering design process in detail using specific examples. Please explain your rationale from where in the process deep learning occurs and why. So the EIE has 3 components. There's a teacher guide, a storybook, and a materials kit. So when you use the EIE, you integrate other subjects. For example, you'd be using literacy with your book. If there's different scenes, if they take place in different places, you could integrate social studies. And then collecting data with numbers, that would be your math. with engineering design process, there is a continuing circle that is ask, imagine, plan, create, and improve. So we think, or I think, the most important stage would be to improve, because you figure out a good way, or you figure out a solution, but then you don't want to just stop there. You want to keep making it better. For example, when they had the first car, they had the thin wheels on it, and it only went a certain speed, no seatbelt, no AC, no heater. So if they wouldn't have ever improved that, we would still be in those T model cars. Whereas now we're at the point where some of these cars can even drive themselves. Same thing goes for cell phones. Like, we've been developing, and every year, every other year, there's like a new model of phone that keeps coming out. Let's see. Which assignment do you feel was the most helpful and impactful, and why? I think the most helpful was filling out lesson plans, because it was really hard, but I feel like it was necessary for us to do, because, well, we have to learn how to fill out lesson plans. But I mean, it was most impactful because you had to get your standard. You have to make your activities align with your standard, and it's a good practice for us to be able to use our resources and research, and be able to know where to look for those standards and activities and all that good stuff. Which assignment do you feel was not helpful / impactful enough for me to repeat in the future semesters, and why? I think all of our assignments were good. The only one that was kind of was the using the Google Speaker activity. Well, because I guess we all know that technology doesn't always work when we want it to work, and a lot of us kind of already knew about Google Speakers and how we can use them and all that stuff. But I mean, like anything else, we can go online and find out new ways to use it. And I think that's all. Bye.